The information in Crime Champs videos is meant exclusively for informational, educational, and general interest purposes. It should never be used as legal advice. Our videos are simply an overview of the facts as we understand them. They should not be interpreted as legal advice. We do not provide legal advice or act as attorneys. If you think you may have been the victim of a crime, you should consult a lawyer. Our videos is not meant to shock, enrage, or otherwise provoke the viewer. Our videos were produced exclusively to increase public awareness of events relating to true crime.
Case number 659324, State of Ohio versus Jared Bell. Defendant is appearing by Zoom. My understanding, there's been a plea agreement reached where the defendant will plead guilty to count 1, attempted endangering children. He will plead guilty to count 2, disseminating matter harmful to juveniles, misdemeanor of the first degree. Correct statement, counsel?
That is correct, Your Honor.
911, what's your emergency?
Jared Drake Bell, once the charismatic star of Nickelodeon's hit show Drake and Josh, now finds himself entangled in a harrowing legal battle. The 34-year-old actor's fall from grace culminated in a shocking sentencing for multiple charges related to crimes against a child. On June 23, 2021, he pleaded guilty to attempted child endangerment, a fourth-degree felony, and to disseminating matter harmful to juveniles, a grave first-degree misdemeanor. These serious charges stem from a troubling incident that unfolded on December 1, 2017, in Cleveland, Ohio, just as he was set to perform at the Odeon Concert Club. In 2018, a brave 15-year-old girl stepped forward to file a police report in Canada, recounting a harrowing incident involving Bell that night. Her voice, steady yet trembling, echoed through the courtroom during the sentencing hearing as she spoke via Zoom, sharing her truth with the world. "I'm going to reveal all the crimes he has committed against me," she said. The young woman, now 19, revealed a shocking secret, a relationship with Bell that began when she was merely 12 years old. "He was a hero to me. I would have done anything for him," she said. She said they maintained a relationship online, and when she was 15, the messages were blatantly sexual. The prosecutor's office said at that concert, Bell violated his duty of care and, in doing so, created a risk of harm to the victim. The teenager revealed that Bell coerced her into sexual acts, first backstage at the concert and later in a Cleveland hotel room, leaving her traumatized. "He is a monster and a danger to children," she said. After the victim came forward, Canadian authorities reached out to Cleveland law enforcement. The Cleveland Division of Police then launched an investigation into the allegations, resulting in formal charges. "He is sorry he's finally been caught. He committed these crimes with pride," she said. Jared Drake Bell is a pedophile and this is his legacy. Bell's defense attorney asserted that the actor was unaware of the teen's age and ceased all communication with her upon discovering it. He pointed out that allegations of misconduct only surfaced after the victim learned about Bell's fiancée. The attorney further argued that the events described by the victim in court on Monday did not occur and that those claims were unrelated to the charges to which Bell pleaded guilty. The defense maintained that Bell had already paid for his actions through the loss of his job. Bell also spoke in court. "My conduct was wrong," he said. "I'm sorry the victim was harmed in any way, but that was not my intention. I want to apologize to her." The judge sentenced him to 1 year for attempted child endangerment and 6 months for disseminating harmful material to juveniles, with both sentences to run concurrently. He won't serve any jail time, but he will be on probation for 2 years due to his suspended sentence. At the end of that period, the judge stated his status as a sex offender would be reevaluated. Drake and Josh aired from 2004 to 2007, and since then, Bell has continued to lend his voice to various projects. He has also released multiple albums and toured across the country under the name Drake Campana in his music career.
Hello?
Hi, is this Kathy?
Yes?
Hi, Kathy. My name's Keith King. I left you a message late last night. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks.
We don't know each other. I'm an investigator. I'm a private investigator east of Cleveland.
Uh-huh.
And here's the reason why I'm calling. It has to do with Drake Bell. It's nothing. And it has to do with I don't know if you heard this. Have you heard anything about any allegations?
No, not at all.
Okay. So I'm retired law enforcement. I'm not the police. I was engaged by a firm here in Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently there's a Sydney Grossman, someone who you know, I believe. And
Yes, I do.
Yeah,
yes, I know.
and they're friends, and she's a big fan, I think, of Drake's, right?
Right.
So there was some suggestion of some potentially inappropriate contact that occurred at or around a venue in Cleveland. And when I was looking through this and everything else, I know you do a lot of postings for Drake, and you send him pictures, things of that nature.
I'm a friend of his mother's.
Correct. Yeah, correct.
So I know him, and if I can go see, I'm a freelance photographer. A lot of times I'll just shoot I'll photograph the show for him and so forth.
Right. And he's shared with that. So we've met him a couple times, from Los Angeles. He's been here in Cleveland. But he's had nothing but great things to say. You communicate with him well, and you're friends with his mom. But apparently, Sydney has made some suggestion that there was some inappropriate contact at a venue, and it was at the Aloft Hotel. And, of course, he's denying this. I'll just share this with you. I'm totally transparent here. But it had to do when there was a signing of a birthday card. And her aunt,
right,
Shauna.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, she was there. And the venue was at the Odeon, I believe.
Yes, I was there.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. So let me just look at this real quick, the date. And the date was Friday, December 1st, 2017, was at the Odeon.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And she would have been, Sydney was 15 at the time, I believe.
I believe she would have been 15 or 16.
Yeah. And that very next day, which would have been Saturday morning, December 2nd, you guys went to his hotel room. Do you remember that at the Aloft?
I know he was staying at the Aloft, but I personally didn't go. A friend of mine came with me, and she has some medical issues. She was tired, and so we just said our goodbyes right there and just didn't bother to go to his hotel. But I know Sydney and her aunt and another friend of mine named Darlene, she went and chatted with him for a while and so forth.
Yeah, got to see him and signed some autographs, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, all right, I was under, when I was looking at the postings and stuff, because it's wide open, I thought maybe that you had been present, at this.
No, like I said, I would have normally if it had just been me, but considering my friend who came with me didn't feel all that terrific, obviously. Mm-hmm. I told him goodbye after the show, and
So
then the next morning I had breakfast with Sydney and her aunt, but they had already seen him before I saw them.
All right, so that next morning, if I can talk to you about that next morning, did you guys all stay at the same location then, wherever it was?
No, we didn't. No. My friend and I were at a different hotel than was Cindy and her aunt.
Okay. Was there ever any discussions that Sydney had any privilege to go backstage or anything on December 1st for any reason before the show? Did you hear?
Well, she did go backstage. I was with her. I think I was with her at the time she was backstage. I don't really recall because I was kind of busy too because I was photographing the show for him.
Right.
So he was showing me where I could get to the stage and this and that. So and then of course I was there with my friend and I knew Sydney's aunt and stuff. So I was, talking with them and stuff. So, I wasn't hawkeyeing everything he was doing, obviously.
Right.
And he came up and visited with us. We were put up in like a little, it's not a balcony, but it's a second level in this, it's kind of like a large bar venue.
Right.
And, we were up on the, I had called the venue and they knew I was coming. And so we were just seated up there. And he, when he got there, he came up and he chatted with us for a while. And, we just had nice chat and talked about different things. And then he showed me showed me around the venue so I could do the photographs. And then after the show, we were all backstage with him in his dressing room. But that was all of us. That was Sydney, her aunt, my two friends, and me. We were all, and then there was a couple of other guys back there too from, I think, the venue, or I don't know exactly who they were, but
yeah. And that was after the show, right?
That was after the show, right?
All right. How about before the show? Had Sydney ever been alone with him at any chance, or is that that you remember?
No, I can't honestly say for sure. I really can't. I'm trying to think back, and I really can't recall. I'm not saying she wasn't, but I don't recall seeing her go with him.
I mean, and you would describe him as, how would you describe Drake Bell, as it relates to Sydney? Was he always kind? Was he professional? Did he ever?
Oh, he was always kind to her. Yeah, he was very kind to her. I never ever. I've been around her with him many times, and I never saw anything. It was actually, he would. I could tell because Sydney was, very much enamored with him. And that night, actually, when we were up on the upper balcony talking and watching the acts that were before him, she actually looked like she was a little put out because he wasn't paying attention all to her. He was talking to me and some other people too.
Okay.
And I could tell he sensed that. I mean, I felt that he was keeping a bit of a distance from her. Kind of almost a cool demeanor. I mean, not unkind. I mean, he's always kind to her.
Right.
But just kind of like he sensed, like he's aware of the fact that she was 15.
Yeah. Kind
of a feeling. And I'm not the only one who felt that. My couple of my friends were there also said that they could tell that. So, I mean, he's always been kind to her. She's the first time he met her was through me. She was like 12 or something,
Yeah.
And he got a kick out of her because she was just so enthralled with him and stuff.
Right.
And he's very good about that with fans. I mean, he's very good with his fans. And so,
right.
He's very open with them. He'll, if somebody wants to come backstage, he's usually fine with it unless the venue's not.
Mm-hmm.
So, he's very, 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 very approachable person.
Right. Okay.
And very good natured. I mean, if you spoke to him, I mean, he's a really nice, friendly guy to talk to.
Yeah, I've met with him and I've spoke with him about,
right,
a handful of things, and so you got the impression, that he was he didn't want to be rude to her, but he felt that she really kind of liked him, but he was professionally just trying to cool her off a little bit by.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
he definitely was not leading her on or anything like that.
Not in front of me, he wasn't.
Okay.
No, not at all.
All right.
But she tends to follow him around, and he doesn't say go away.
Yeah.
But like if he walks off, she just follows behind him, and he just kind of lets her. But like I said, I've never seen anything inappropriate with him and Cindy, and. I mean, like when we were up on the balcony before the show, there was his bands that were opening for him were playing, and he was kind of leaning on the balcony, and she went over and leaned next to him and was trying to be as close as possible, and he didn't do anything. He didn't put his arm around her. He didn't nothing.
Right. Okay.
He didn't even actually say a whole heck of a lot to her.
All
Again,
right.
Not being rude, but I just got that impression that he does. My impression was he doesn't want to lead her on.
Correct. Okay.
Because he's in his 30s.
Yeah.
But that's, and I'm not saying that to defend him because he's a friend of mine, but it's the truth.
Right.
That was the vibe I got, and as well as a couple of my friends. I mean, they also felt the same thing. They actually made the comment that that they thought that was good that he was doing that.
Okay.
So,
well, and that's all that's anybody.
Knowing how Sydney is.
Yeah, it's just interested in the truth. So she's pretty possessive. I mean, she's really into Drake. Is that what you?
She was. I honestly haven't heard from her in quite a while.
Okay.
I wasn't sure what. I mean, probably. Geez, I don't know if it's been a year, but it's been a long time that I haven't heard from her. You know, and the one other friend I have who was at that show, she made the comment. She hadn't heard about her either, and she goes, well, maybe she's kind of over him because, you know, it was a teenage crush or whatever. But she didn't even really know either. So I have had no contact with her. I haven't talked with her about anything,
right,
let alone him. So,
okay.
And, you know, I haven't said anything to him about her at all. So on
December 2nd, you didn't go to the hotel.
No.
Did you know anything about? I'm sorry. Did you know anything about Kathy having a birthday card that she wanted Drake to sign?
I think that was that Shauna or Darlene? It wasn't me.
I'm sorry.
I'm Kathy. Yeah.
Yeah, I met Shauna.
I heard something. Yes, I heard something about a birthday card, but I don't know exactly. I didn't even. Was it for Sydney? I think it wasn't it?
Yeah.
Her 16th birthday or something? Okay.
Yeah.
That's all I know, though. I mean, just because Shauna mentioned it to me that she was going to have him sign a card.
Okay.
And I said, oh, I'm sure he will. You know, blah, blah.
Yeah.
To the extent of that. So
was it...
He'd forgotten about the card until you brought it up.
So was it Sydney and Shauna that went into the hotel? And
they were there.
Who else went in?
Another lady named Darlene.
Okay. All right.
So she knows even less about anything because
I
that was the first time she'd ever met him. It was, you know, she'd never even met him before that day.
All right.
Actually, she said nothing but good things about the meeting, that he was chatted with her and that, you know.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to ask you. So when they came back,
she just you know, the next day she told me, she said, we went over to his hotel and stuff, and I said, yeah, and she said that she just started, you know, gushing about him, what a nice guy he is, and, you know, how much she enjoyed, you know, talking to him.
Yeah, and that's Darlene, right?
She never mentioned anything about Sydney or Shauna. All she did was talk about how much she enjoyed chatting with him.
Okay. She didn't say anything about, let me ask you this, was there anything that she said about that meeting that surprised you or?
No.
Okay.
Nothing.
All right. That may be.
And she still talks to me. I mean, like I said, she's the one who was asking me if I'd heard from Sydney because she hadn't either. So, you know, nothing. Obviously, because she just, you know, really, you know, sings Drake's praises as far as a guy, his personality, and as far as a human being. So, you know, if anything, she's the type that she's very blunt. So, I mean, if something had happened that she thought was inappropriate, you know, I would have heard about it.
Yeah. Okay. Now, is Darlene from the States or from Canada?
No, she's Canadian.
All right. Because I may have her information, but I'm not sure.
Well, that's how I introduced Drake to Sydney, was because Shauna, because Darlene has been a friend of mine for 25 years, and Shauna is a friend of Darlene's, and you know, way back several years, well, like I said, at least 5 or 6 years ago, she contacted me and said, you know, a friend of mine, her niece, you know, is a big fan of Drake's, and you know, they plan on coming to this next show that I knew I was going to be at, photographing it for him. And she said, you know, is there any way you could arrange for him to meet him?
Mm-hmm.
And that was, like I said, back when she was like 12 or whatever.
Okay.
So I did. And you know, and then it just kind of, from there, her aunt would drive her to a lot of his shows if they were within a reasonable driving distance. And all in the States. And, of course, you know, Toronto only being 4 hours from where I am, a lot of them were near me, and so I was at them.
Right.
You know.
Okay.
So,
yeah, you do a nice job.
I've
seen your pictures and everything else, and you do a really nice job. And it's part of my investigation that I'm looking into here for the firm in Cleveland. So and respectfully, I just ask that we, being transparent, that we can keep our conversations confidential for a period of time. If we can do that, I'd really, really appreciate it. I
don't know how much information you can
give. There's some things.
Is it something that Sydney accused him of, or something that Shauna was concerned about, or
So it appears to be something that it's a great question, by the way. It appears to be something that Shauna had said that she did that obviously Drake has denied, and I think it has to do with I'm just going to come out and tell you I think that with Sydney, she really kind of had this crush on Drake.
Oh yeah, she
and
did, absolutely.
There came a point in time, I think that year, that she discovered that Drake actually had a girlfriend by the name of Janet.
Yes, he does.
Yeah, and so Sydney's been kind of upset, and she's made some statements, I think, to members of her family who reached out to law enforcement, and they're looking into this, and that's why Drake had to contact an attorney here in Cleveland. And of course, you've heard nothing about it until I call. So there's a risk, there's a risk of me calling you. But as I did this investigation, I'm like, well, I figured Kathy would be transparent, and I mean, she knows Drake's mom, and I've spoke with Drake. It's you do everything you can so this accusation doesn't get out, for any purpose, and there's
especially if it's not true, you don't want to harm his reputation if it's not true.
Correct.
But I mean, obviously, I mean, I don't know what I can't, say. I mean, all I can do is tell you that, what I've seen, and that's it. And I've never seen anything. I mean, like I said, if anything, I thought he was, keeping a bit of a emotional distance from her.
Okay.
And because, like I said, I noticed it, and I thought, well, good for him, because I thought, I'm glad he's doing that because she is so enthralled with him,
Yeah.
And I think sometimes he shoots himself in the foot because he's so open with his fans, and so, just he acts like just a regular guy, and so he often is fine with your fans, really like him. He's fine with, having him, like I said, come meet him in the lobby of his hotel or go to lunch with him or whatever. He's really quite open about that.
Right.
And, of course, when you're like that way, you run the risk.
Yeah. True.
I mean, right. I mean, he's, because a lot of his fans are younger. And so, I mean, there is, I've thought that a couple times. I thought, I hope nothing ever backfires on him. Because,
yeah, true.
Mm-hmm. When you're like that, these are younger girls, you are putting yourself at a little higher risk of something.
Right.
But every time I've seen him, not just with her, but since not only do I photograph his shows, but there's a couple times where he had like meet and greets, and I would photograph that for him. And he's very affectionate as far as giving hugs. He'll say things to just totally make them feel good about themselves, and he's just really down to earth with them, which I always was very much admired.
Right.
But that's it. I mean, I've never seen him be anything other than that.
Okay.
And like I said, I've been with him with Sydney. I'm trying to think. 1, 2, like 4 times, maybe 4 or 5 times. And I've never, like I said, I never saw anything even remotely inappropriate, and that's the truth.
Okay. So now, are you paid for what you do?
No. I usually do it as a favor because I'm friends with,
All right.
because
And you're a freelance photographer,
with
right?
his mother, and yeah.
Okay.
I just do it as, because he never insists that I photograph. I just offer. I say, do you want me to do it? And so it's mostly just that, because I'm friends with this family that I do it.
So as we talk about December 1st, 2017, here in Cleveland at the Odeon, there at the Cleveland Flats, before and after the concert, you were with Sydney and Shauna and Darlene, right? And you never and Sydney was never alone or went backstage with Drake that you know of, at least, while you were there.
I know of.
All right.
Yeah, but I never saw her, walk off with him where it was just her and him.
All right. You guys were close, right? You're a group, correct?
We were all just a group. Like I said, we were the only ones up in that balcony. It was just us, our group.
Okay.
And actually, when he showed me around for photography purposes and stuff, she did follow us.
Right.
I was there. And he actually walked several steps in front of her.
Okay.
She was, of course, she followed him everywhere like a puppy dog,
Right.
Because that's when a teenager goes a crush, you know how that goes.
Sure.
I was with her, him and her, at that point. So that was the only time that I know for sure that she was with him, that we weren't in the group, but I was there.
All right, let me ask you about the next day, December 2nd. So when they came back, did they come back in the same vehicle as you after they visited him, or did you guys drive separately?
No, we were all separate, yeah.
All right. So did you leave? Did you guys leave? So here's my question. So when Shauna and Sydney were done visiting with Drake inside the Aloft Hotel Saturday the 2nd, did you meet up with them and talk about anything?
No. Well, what time, do you have a time approximate that you're talking about when they met up with them at the loft?
No, I don't have it here in front of me.
Because
it was early, though.
Okay, then, because that would have been before.
9, 10, maybe.
Yeah, okay. Then that's what I thought. Yeah, because like I said, we met up with them for breakfast around maybe 11:30 or something, 11. So that's why I was asking you, because if it was before that, which... So when you met her for breakfast, had Shauna already got the signed card from Drake, birthday card? Yeah, I believe so, yeah.
All right, so we have to reasonably assume that Shauna and Sydney had already met with Drake at the Aloft. He signed the birthday card, right?
Right.
And then afterwards, you guys had breakfast together, correct?
Right.
Because that's when you learned that from Shauna that Drake signed the birthday card for Sydney.
Yeah, well, I don't know if we even talked about it then. I mean, she had told me before that, like the night before, that she was going to get him to sign a card.
Okay. So you knew about before.
Well, yeah, I knew that she was going to get him to sign a card. That's all I knew. She just told me, I have a card for Sydney. I'm going to have Drake sign it, and it's a little bit of a surprise. And I said, oh, that's nice.
Yeah. Because her birthday is January 29th. Is her birthday? Yeah.
I mean, I think it was her 16th. So she thought, well, that'd be nice. And I said, yeah, sure.
Okay.
Cool, and that was it. I mean, there was no big discussion about it. And then, like I said, the next morning when we were having breakfast, it never got brought up. Of course, I think was it supposed to be a surprise for her, which would mean that Shauna wouldn't bring it up in front of her.
Correct.
So you told me how they had a nice time talking to him.
Okay.
And all that, and that, like I said, Darlene and Shauna were both gushing about what a nice guy is and how much they enjoyed chatting with him. And Sydney was, of course, kind of giggly, a little bit of high, like teenagers get.
Right.
And, so, but she didn't say much at all, actually, Sydney. You could see the look on her face. She was glowing, because she'd been able to spend time with her idol.
Right.
But that's it. I mean, all that's normal.
Yeah, okay. Makes sense.
I mean, when I'm around Drake, I see fans around him all the time, and, that's typical when teenagers, they're all giddy and stuff because, meeting their idol. But that was it. I mean,
okay.
She didn't say anything fact that she was all happy that she had spent time with him. And like I said, Darlene and Shauna just were talking about how nice he was, and that was the first time Darlene had ever met him. And she was going on about what a nice guy he was. And
so that was the first time Darlene had ever been there?
Had ever met Drek. Yeah, it was the first time Darlene had ever seen him perform or met him.
Okay.
Shauna, of course, had seen him before because she was the one who would always bring Sydney.
Right.
And my friend, Darlene was, she lives in Canada too, and so she had heard about him through me, because I talked about him, and she knew, obviously, because she's the one that originally asked me if I could hook Sydney up to meet him.
Okay.
And, but that was the first time she'd ever herself got to meet him or see him perform, and she even now, if anything about him gets brought up, she just goes on about what a nice young man he is.
Okay.
So,
let me draw your attention. A couple more things I'm looking at here. Because you were at other venues. How about March 18th, 2018 in Toledo?
Yeah, I was there.
That was what was that? That's a concert hall there, right, in Toledo?
Yeah. Yep.
All right. So that was March 18th. Again, Shauna.
I was there.
Okay, you were there. Robin.
Actually, Shauna and Sydney came to my house first, and we just sat and chatted for a while. They'd never been here, and then they just followed me to the venue.
Okay, talk to me about March, that venue.
Well, she never was backstage with him at all, or anything. She was never alone with him at all, because I'd already called the venue and I had talked to the manager and so forth. They knew I was going to be taking pictures. And they were pretty strict, though, because, when I walked in, they didn't even, they didn't charge. I often don't get charged tickets because, and they put a wristband on me, and I was texting Drake at that point, actually, because he was running late. And I had texted him, and he had said, I'll be there in such and such time or whatever. And then he texted me, I'm here. And so I went up to the person from the venue I'd been working with, and I said, he's here. He just texted me and said he's just pulled in. And so, I start following the guy back to this, what do you want to call it? Maybe like a stage door or whatever, where he was going to come in. And the guy wouldn't even let me.
Okay.
Even though I texted Drake right in front of him, and he says, oh, no, you can't come back. I'm like,
so they're real strict, right? Real strict?
They were. It was kind of stupid, really, to be honest with you. But he wouldn't let me come back. So I never even went backstage at that venue. Drake was running late. He didn't feel well, and and he just kind of showed up at the rested in this hotel as long as he could, and then got there, performed, and Sydney was with me she was never not within my sight that night ever. Okay. Because like I said, they didn't even let me go back, let alone Sydney. And then after the show, he often does a meet greet where he signs things for people, and there's this long line. And I stood off to the side photographing some of it for him, and Sydney was standing there by me the whole time.
Okay.
So, Do
you remember leaving the venue?
Yeah.
Okay. You guys all left together.
Everybody was leaving at the same time, pretty much.
Okay. Was it just that performance, March 18th?
Yes.
Okay.
It was just a one-night, one performance thing.
Okay. Because I saw your posts, your photographs, and everything. So.
Yep.
So nobody was with Drake Bell. Nobody meaning Sydney. She was never with him alone backstage or anything.
No. I was there the whole. No, she was never. I was there. She was right by me the whole time, actually.
Okay. And Drake, his demeanor, would you describe it as the same as you traditionally have seen him? Similar to like.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh yeah. No. He was. He knew she was coming, but
right.
Like I said, he didn't see any of us beforehand. They wouldn't let us, and he just got up on stage, and of course. It was one of those things where you could stand at the foot of the stage, and then there was some tables and chairs too. But Sydney, I had to go up. Obviously, I was at the foot of the stage and by the side of the stage because I was photographing it. So I let Sydney follow me so that she could be right up the foot of the stage. One point he saw her and he kind of smiled at her,
Right.
You know, which you did to me too. I mean,
okay.
Yeah, well, you know, like if hi, you know, I'm performing, but he just acknowledges that he sees us, you know.
Yeah.
And then after the show, he went backstage for a few minutes, and we did not follow him. I mean, they wouldn't let us. And then he came back out, and we didn't even really talk to him too much. I mean, just hey, hi, because he was signing out. You know, it was a really long line wrapped around the place, you know, waiting in line for him to sign autographs and take pictures. And so I was standing kind of next to him. Actually, it wasn't even just me. Two of his roadies were right there. Or I mean, I wasn't sure who the one guy was. I wasn't sure if he was with Drake or if he was with the venue. But, I mean, there was standing by him while he was signing all the autographs was me, two men, and Sydney.
Okay.
And Shauna walked up kind of close a couple times, but, you know, but mostly. And Sydney, literally, there was a table right next to where he was signing, and she was literally just sitting at the table the whole time he was signing autographs.
Okay.
And then afterwards, once the place cleared out, it was just basically us. We stood in the middle of the venue and talked to him for a while. I mean, actually, he talked to me mostly.
Okay.
Again, I mean, if anything, it's like he's trying to bring Sydney down a little, like where because she's not, you know, because he knows that she just wants to, like, you know, hover over him and you know, and he, you know, he's like, hi, but I mean, I mean, what's funny about this to me is that he does, when he's around her, every time I've been there, and I've been at most of them, there's a couple she's gone to that I have been at, but I've been at most of the same shows she has, and he always comes off as a little standoffish to her. Not in a mean way, like I said, but just like, you know, like,
right.
You're 16, I'm 34. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely get that sense because he knows how crazy she is about him, of course.
Right.
And I mean, same thing that day. I mean, he's hi, Sydney. He gave her a hug, and he gave all of us a hug. But and she just kind of stood there next to us while mostly I talked to him. Shauna said a few things. My husband was there for part of it. He wasn't there afterwards, but he was there all the way up until the show was over.
Okay.
And, you know, he'd tell you the same thing, that, you know, nobody was allowed backstage, and that, you know, nothing, you know, the whole time he was there. He left then, because it was getting late and he had to be up early for work, so he left after the show was over, so he wasn't there when we were chatting with him after everybody had left. But,
okay.
But, you know, I mean, actually, most of this conversation was Drake's a Mason, and he was wearing his Masonic ring, and I pointed out because my father had been a Mason and my uncle and stuff, and I just said, oh, you know, we chatted about that.
Right.
You know, that was pretty much, honest to God, Sydney and him didn't talk a lot. It was mostly me and him to talk.
All right, so nothing else out that jumps out other than what you described?
No. Then of course he left with his you know, with the guys he came with, and I left, and Shauna said, "Well, we're because they were driving back that night."
Okay.
I think she said, "Well, we're going to get on the road," and that was it. Everybody left.
So let me ask you about this. So that was March 18th. How about March 22nd, a few days later, at the Grog Shop in Cleveland Heights?
Now, yeah, I was there. That one I wasn't at.
Okay. So you attend the Grog Shop. And I see the postings as March 21st, but everything online says the event was on the 22nd. I don't, you know.
My pictures were from the 18th.
Okay.
Toledo.
All right. So
I didn't go to the Grog Shop.
You did not go to the Grog Shop in Cleveland Heights?
No, I did not.
All right.
No.
Do you know if
the Odeon, and I was in Toledo.
Do you know if Shauna and Sydney went?
I didn't think they did. I didn't think they did because Sydney was still in school.
Okay.
You know, and so there was, they were always conscious about her not missing too much school or anything. So that's one of the reasons I think they drove back that same night in Toledo. But I didn't think she'd gone.
So what day is that, March?
I didn't know.
The 18th. What day is that, if you know?
It was a Sunday, I believe.
All right. So Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Okay. So March 22nd, it would have been, I mean, you're right, so it would have been during the week.
Right.
All right. And you don't believe
that's why I didn't think she would go, because it's, it was during the week and she's in school.
Okay. I mean, do you know for sure, or you...
I can't say for sure, I guess, because I never even talked with her about it. Never even crossed my mind, to be honest with you.
Okay.
But I never heard it. I mean, usually I hear, because if, Shauna would have told me, or Darlene would say, oh, I heard Shauna and Sydney went, saw Drake, blah, blah. So normally I would hear about it. I can't say positively if they were there or not, but I heard nothing about them going.
Okay. Were there any other shows that year, 2018, after March 18th that you know?
No, actually, that's the last time I saw him, was at that show, because I wasn't able to go to one. I thought I was going to, some months later, and then, of course, I was supposed to go to one he was doing this May, but that was, postponed because of COVID. So, that's actually the last show I've been to, was the March 18th in Toledo.
Okay. And you haven't, can you think the last time you had any communications with Sydney or Shauna?
It's been a long time. Like I said, it's been a long time.
2019?
Even Shauna. Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, I would say so, yeah. I mean, Sydney, I was on Facebook, although she never posted a lot of things about Drake on Facebook or anything like that. But she would sometimes send me private messages, like the couple times she did go to shows what I want. She'd send me a message telling me everything that happened, and there was nothing. It was like a typical fan thing, Sean, my Aunt Sean and I, we were backstage and he was so nice and this and that. And that's, the typical stuff. There was never anything she said that raised a red flag for me, nothing.
Okay.
And like I said, every time she was always with Shauna, at least.
Right. Would Shauna ever leave her, meaning Sydney, by herself with Drake for any purpose?
I have never seen that.
Okay.
No, I've never seen that. I don't know for sure. Like I said, I don't know about shows that I wasn't at.
Okay.
But that wouldn't be my impression, because every time I was at a show with them, she was right there with Sydney.
Pretty strict.
So like when I was walking around with Drake and Sydney was with us, she didn't follow, but I was there.
All right. And how would you describe Shauna as an aunt?
I don't know. I don't know her super well. I've gotten to know her because of this. But I don't know. She just seems like a nice person. She's obviously very close to Sydney. When I first met them, I thought I got confused, and I thought that Shauna was her mother. And then Darlene clarified for me that no, she's the aunt. But I don't know. I thought that she obviously cares about Sydney very much. I think she enjoyed going to the shows too. I know she did.
Right.
So it was fun for her too. And she liked Drake, and so to me it just looked like an aunt. And because Shauna has no children of her own, so Sydney was she's doing the mother-daughter thing with Sydney. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that was always my impression, that she just really enjoyed doing it, and that her and Sydney were very close, and that, and I think Shauna had a huge thing for Rick Springfield when she was younger. So I think, she just, she remembers being a teenager and,
right.
What that's like. And so she just enjoyed going. And, of course, if she met Drake, she really liked him. So, of course, she just enjoyed seeing him herself. And that was about it. That I just felt that she was just doing this for Sydney because she remembered when she was a teenager how fun that was. And that's really it.
Okay. So Sydney would send you private messages or messages about what her experience was?
Occasionally, not a lot. I think maybe twice.
Okay. Would she ever call you on the phone? Would you ever talk to her on the phone?
No. It was always just a message on Facebook. Okay. Excuse me.
You still have those messages by chance?
I would have to look. I don't know, because the last one was a long time ago.
Yeah.
She didn't send me anything after March, because if I was there, she didn't send me a message telling me what went on, because I was there.
Yeah, I'm just curious. looking ahead of things, and again, in confidence, I'm just kind of looking ahead. And
I mean, I was wondering if she even is not even on Facebook anymore, because I have, like I said, see when I go to type her name in, it doesn't even come up now. Here it is, Sydney Grossman. Let me see. Yeah, there she is. Yeah, see, she's not even friends with me anymore. She dropped me as a friend.
Mhm.
So I would have no idea.
Okay. When did she drop you as a friend?
I take that. Wait a minute. Let me see. That might not be her. Now that I'm looking at the pictures. Yeah, that's not her. Never mind.
Okay. All right.
I just saw the name because I figured how many Sydney Grossmans could there be, but
yeah.
No, that's not her. So see, I don't even know if she's on Facebook at all anymore.
Yeah. Okay.
So, and like I said, she never posted about him on her Facebook anyway. I mean,
right.
It was, just she never did that. I never saw her do it. At least not. I mean, she did something when she was younger or something, maybe because, she was mostly a fan of the Drake and Josh show.
Right, Drake and Josh.
Okay. Yeah. That's how she got a crush on him, because of the Drake and Josh show.
Gotcha.
So,
all right.
I mean, she would talk about Josh that way, like, I love Josh. So it, like I said, I mean, I knew she had a major crush on him, and the funny thing is like I said, my friend and I, we even talked about that. My one friend, her name is Lori, but she just knows about all this, and she likes Drake, and she knows about Sydney and her crush and everything.
Right.
And she even said to me, she said, I hope Drake's, I'm sure Drake's aware how much Sydney likes him. I said, oh yeah, he's totally aware.
Yeah.
And she said, well, you got to be careful with those things when you got, a girl. And I said, absolutely. And I told her how he was kind of, I hate using the word standoffish because that makes it sound like he's not nice to Sydney. That's not what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
But where he was clearly keeping it, he didn't put his arm, he hugged her when she first walked in, he hugged all of us, but, he didn't put his arm around her, he didn't, do anything.
Yeah. He
didn't even touch her, after, hugging her.
Right.
She stood next to him and all that, and he, it was fine, but, and I told her that, and she said, oh, good for him,
Yeah.
So my impression was always that, he was fully aware that, he has to be careful with these things.
Yeah.
And I always admired him for that, because I thought, yeah, good for you,
Yeah, sure.
I always felt he was walking the line really well, because like I said, he likes to, if he knows he's got some really diehard fan, he likes to interact with them and do things for them, let them come backstage, that kind of thing. But then he kind of comes off like I said, where he's like, okay, but keep your distance in a way.
Right.
And I always thought, good for him that he's walking that line where he's still letting the fans have a lot of access to him, without, crossing any lines. I always thought that about it.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's kind of why I'm a little surprised. I am a little surprised because, never heard anything. I never heard anything from Sydney, Shauna, nothing.
Okay.
Other than praise for him.
Right. Okay.
Never heard anything. So, and like I said, Darlene is the type that, she's very blunt. If she thought he did something appropriate, she'd be calling it out like in a heartbeat.
Right.
And she'd have been telling me. And so, because she was with them when they went to the loft.
To the A loft?
Yeah, Darlene was with them. So that at least that's. I know she went with him. Darlene has a picture of her and him that was taken, in the hallway of the place or whatever. And she told me that they had chatted for a long time. And one of the things they chatted about was fans. And she was very impressed with his opinion about fans, about, letting them have some access to them and stuff, but realizing that he needs to be good to them because they're basically his employers.
Sure.
Yeah. And she was very impressed with his attitude. She thought, well, it's good for him that he realizes where his money comes from.
Sure.
some celebrities, they treat fans like crap, and without fans, they wouldn't be a celebrity.
Right. Now, Darlene's a close friend of yours, right?
Yeah, Darlene's a close friend of mine. Shauna's not a close friend. I mean, like I said, I know her through Darlene.
Okay. And Darlene, she's Canadian also?
Yes.
Okay. And this photograph at the Aloft, is it just her? Is it a selfie of all of them, do you know?
No, it's her and Drake that somebody, I don't know who she had take the picture, probably Shauna.
Okay.
And I think they're in a hallway of the hotel or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's just a picture, your typical picture of...
Darlene never shared anything with you that anything crazy or inappropriate occurred at the...
No, she spoke only highly of the whole thing.
Okay. If I need to, I would ask you first. I might want to reach out to Darlene. Do you think that would be a problem?
I don't know.
What are your thoughts? I mean, I'm interested in your thoughts.
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure she'd talk to you. I think she'd be surprised.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, she's had nothing but positive experiences.
Do you talk to her often?
I'm sure yeah, pretty much. I mean, we text or send a message to each other, a couple times a week.
Okay.
So, we're pretty much consistently in contact, yeah.
All right.
And
because it might be really important. I'm just going to share with you that may be very, very important.
Because she was there?
Yeah. I mean, she would tell you if for some, and I'm paraphrasing. For example, if Sydney said, "Aunt Shauna, I want to go in and just speak with Drake by himself," and Sydney goes in and the door shuts and they're behind a closed door in his hotel room for 3 minutes. Isn't that something that Darlene would question or be concerned about if something like that occurred?
Probably. I don't really know how much that would concern her. I don't know.
Or why they would be, and I'm not saying that they were, but I'm just trying to think of something that would be kind of odd or suspicious.
Well, if it was clearly, out of place for him, she'd absolutely notice it. And I'd probably been the first person she would have told.
Yeah.
So, I don't know exactly. I mean, every little thing that happened when they were with him, I just, know that they visited with him and they chatted with him and took a couple pictures, and Shauna had the cards signed, and that's really all I know. And then I met with them for breakfast, and they were just talking about how nice he was and what a nice time they had hanging out with him.
Okay, well,
that was really about it.
We'll leave it at that, between the two of us for right now. Fair enough?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So I'm sure you have a ton of questions for me.
Well, it was a bit of a shock out of left field here. Like, whoa.
Here's what I'll tell you. Drake has denied that he did anything
inappropriate.
Yeah, to at least any level that is being looked into. And obviously this is a very, very sensitive topic, and there's a risk for me reaching out to you. But as I looked at this whole thing and I talked with people, I'm like, I think I need to give Kathy a call in Toledo. And now I'm east of Cleveland, so my
husband works in Cleveland actually.
Oh, does he?
Yeah. He comes home some nights he's there, but yeah, he works the Fifth Third building downtown.
Oh, okay.
He's the chief engineer of the whole building.
Wow.
So
that's a big building too.
Yeah.
It's the biggest building.
Well, actually, it's not even that. There's another building. I don't know if it's right next to it, across the street, that's smaller. I think it's only 2 stories or something. But he actually is part of that too.
Yeah.
But he's good at that. He used to be chief engineer for the tallest building in downtown Toledo.
Wow, okay. Hey, can I give you my number? Did my number pop up there?
Yes, it did.
All right. In confidence, if you can keep that again, my name is Keith King. And you have not had any contact or communications at all with Shauna?
Not for quite a while, no.
Okay. And just so you know, I've spoken to nobody else about this, including Drake's mother.
Okay.
So we don't want to set off.
I won't mention anything to Robin at this point. I don't want to.
Please.
No.
And I will.
I mean, I wouldn't want to do that just because I knew she'd be upset and worried. So.
So I promise you that I will call you with any updates.
I appreciate that.
And because Drake Bell and his camp, including Janet, have spoken highly of you and have been extremely grateful for everything that you've done. During the course of his tours and his postings, and So
yeah, I appreciate. I think I knew that, but it's nice to hear it.
Yeah.
Like I said, I mean, I've always had a good relationship with him, and I've always thought very highly of him. I mean, he's not a perfect human being, but nothing like this. I've never seen anything that I thought was inappropriate, and that's the God's truth.
Okay. Well, fair enough. I'm going to run off to something else. It's almost 2:00. So, what is it? About maybe 1:30? Yeah, it's about 1:30.
Yeah, it's 1:30.
So, I don't have anything else at this point. Thanks for chatting with me, and I'll be in touch.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Bye, Kathy.
Bye-bye. Something to say about that actually I thought was pretty relevant. Like I said, I didn't watch them the entire time. I'm talking about Cleveland, the Odeon.
Right.
Because I was also talking to friends, and I was also walking around looking about doing what I'm going to do with photography.
Right.
So I wasn't like Hawkeyeing them all the time. And personally, I personally trust Drake, so I mean, it never even occurred to me that I had to. You know what I mean?
Right.
But after the show, I remember that she was in his back of the stage before we were.
She was at the back. I'm sorry, you got to slow down just a little bit. I didn't. She was in the backstage before you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because when he got, when he finished the show and walked off stage, I went back to his dressing room along with Darlene and all that, and she was already in there. However, I went there back almost immediately the minute he walked off stage. So it was 5 minutes. And when I walked backstage, if we could call it that, it was actually like off the stage. There was this area where they had a couch and a chair. That's really all it was.
Right.
But as I was walking back there, the door was open, and I didn't text him in advance saying I'm coming backstage.
Right.
And the door was open, and I just literally walked up, to the door, hey, and walked in, and he was sitting in the chair. She was on the couch, and they're facing each other, and they're at least 8 feet apart. I mean, they were quite a distance. He was sitting in the chair. She was sitting on the couch looking at her phone.
Okay.
So there was nothing that I would have even. In other words, if something had happened in that 5 minutes, I would have probably walked in on it.
Okay.
All
right. Yeah.
Because he just walked off stage and I went straight back.
So nothing was odd or suspicious?
Not at all.
Their behavior wasn't?
No, God, no. Matter of fact, he was, again, I felt like he was at a distance because, he didn't even sit on the couch by her.
Yeah.
And, like I said, the chair was, 7-8 feet from the couch. And she was sitting on the couch staring, playing with her phone. She wasn't even talking to him. But she just didn't talk to him very much at all anytime I've been there.
Right.
She really doesn't say much. And he was just sitting in the chair chilling, and another guy from the venue had walked in, and he was talking to him. They were laughing about who knows what.
Mm-hmm. Now, was that before or after you?
The band?
Yeah.
I think he walked in a tad before.
Okay.
So, I don't know who he is. He was somebody with the venue.
Right.
But I'm just saying, I wanted to be honest when you said, did I ever go with him when I wasn't. But it doesn't, to me, it doesn't show anything, anything inappropriate because, like I said, and plus, like I said, he had the door open. Mm-hmm. There wasn't anything, to me that, it did strike me as odd in any way, shape, or form,
Yeah. And their behavior,
obviously,
their behavior was relaxed, and
oh, absolutely.
It's not like they got busted doing anything.
God, no.
Okay.
No.
All right.
No, like I said, she was really quite relaxed on the couch. She had her feet up on it, and she was just looking at her phone, playing with her phone, like most teenagers do.
Right.
And he was sitting in the chair, and guy walked in, and he said, "Hey," and they just started talking and laughing about something.
Right.
I mean, and like I said, it wasn't just me. It was Darlene and Shauna and stuff, and none of us, thought anything of it.
Okay.
Well,
again, I know you and Darlene are friends, and Darlene is friends with Shauna.
Right.
And
yeah, that was the only reason I kind of hesitated suggesting talk to her, because she kind of puts her in the middle, Cause, she's only met it. That was the only one time she met him. The only time she was around him was that weekend, or I don't think it was a weekend, but you know what I mean. That whole time in Cleveland, and she doesn't know him really well.
Yeah, that's fine.
But I'm sure she'll be okay with talking. I think she would be anyway. I don't know for sure, but
yeah, I'm just interested in the truth, and obviously she doesn't know anything about this.
No, she doesn't. That's the other thing I found odd was, if this, I don't know what obviously I'm going to assume, to me, that it's not true just because of my experience. Because like I said, I never saw anything that was inappropriate.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't understand. I would have thought if this was really serious that Shauna would have immediately said something to Darlene.
Yeah. Well, and again, remember, I've shared with you that there's been an inquiry about something inappropriate. Right. I haven't, and I don't have all those details, but it's something that is being looked into, and as a result, Drake has contacted a law firm to defend him against any allegations.
Well, sure.
And I'm doing the work with and for the law firm to look into this too, based on the information that we have. So right. I don't have everything here in front of me. He hasn't been charged with a crime or anything else, and nobody knows if what the facts are, or if it's true, if it's not true, and I don't want to come out and start calling people liars or things like that. And I that's not how professionally we do this. I'm just interested in obviously Darlene was there at the Aloft.
Yeah, she was.
And it was the day after the Odeon, and what did you witness and what did you hear, and has anybody contacted you? And she's going to say yay or nay. And
right.
If there's anything crazy that occurred, I have to believe that you or Shauna would have been aware of it. And so
well, that's true, and that's the thing that the whole thing struck me as odd, because I'm thinking, number one, that's been 2.5, whatever. That's been some time ago, and it's odd that because I can promise you, Darlene's going to say she didn't see anything odd either. So it seems weird that none of us had any inclination, and Shauna obviously didn't at the time. I mean, she was she was giggly and happy, and she enjoyed it. I could tell she enjoyed hanging around with them as much as Shauna.
Yeah,
as much as Sydney.
And I don't know
out of the blue.
And I don't know what law enforcement or anybody that's looking into this have shared or even spoke to Shauna, because I don't know. I have to assume that they did, because if it was my investigation, back in the day, being involved with law enforcement, I would talk to all those people, including Darlene.
Right.
If there was an allegation that was made that may have or did occur at the Aloft, because I don't know, but you would want to talk to all those people who were there to see if there's any any substance to what's being conveyed, and that's all I'm doing. And you know what? I can't tell Darlene. I just want her to talk to me for a minute. I can't tell her not to speak to Shauna.
Well, no, of course you can't.
I also want to talk with Shauna. I've tried to reach out to her And in confidence, I haven't left her any messages because I only have a work number. So, and that's why, I'd want to speak with Darlene, and I'll ask Darlene if you talk to Shauna, have her call me. So I
just find it weird that I never heard of this, or Darlene. We haven't heard anything about this ever.
Yeah.
It seems like I said, I don't know Shauna and Sydney super well because, like I told you, I just met them through Darlene, and and then the only time I've ever been around them is at some of Drake's shows. I mean, I'm hardly good friends with them or anything.
Yeah.
But Darlene and Shauna have known each other for quite a while, and like I told you, that's the whole reason I met Shauna was because she told Darlene her niece had a crush on Drake, and Darlene knew that I knew him. But obviously, Shauna has said nothing to Darlene because Darlene, I know she would have told me immediately.
Yeah.
And Darlene is still singing his praises as far as what a great guy he is.
Well, he is a great guy. He's a great entertainer.
Well, he is. He's a good actor. He's a good musician. And when you talk to him, how he was, but I mean, he's just a really pleasant, friendly, nice guy. I mean, he does a lot of charity work for kids. I mean, nothing at all that would say to you there was anything that would make you think he would, you wouldn't be able to trust him.
Right.
Nothing. And I know his mother quite well, so I know a lot about him in that sense. Two moms talking about their kids.
Yeah. I mean, Mom doesn't even know anything about this.
Well, I'm glad of that because I mean, Robin, she worries about him enough just because she doesn't see him much because he's always, doing something somewhere else, and I would hate to see her worry about this when there's not necessarily any reason at this point. You know what I mean?
Correct.
Since there hasn't been charges filed or anything, I don't see any point in worrying her.
Correct.
I mean, I'm not going to say anything to her. But I mean, I haven't said anything to Darlene or Shauna at this point either. And then I told you about I hadn't heard from Shauna or Sydney in a long time, and I looked on Facebook, and they both dropped me as a friend a long time ago. And
you just found that out the other day when we talked, right?
But right, because I'm not close to them, so I didn't pay any attention. I think once it crossed my mind that am I friends with Shauna? Because I never saw anything about her on Facebook. But like I said, since I wasn't that close to them, it's kind of just left my mind, and I didn't even think about it. But when you called me, I went and looked, and they had been friends with me, and they both dropped me. They both unfriended me, and that seems odd to me.
Yeah.
I mean, because how come I can't believe Shauna wouldn't have said something to me?
Right.
That she wouldn't have, immediately said to me, oh, you know what he did or whatever. Or I mean, it all just seems weird.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it does.
It seems weird.
If you could do that, I mean, obviously, I would. I mean, I know Darlene's your friend. I mean, I would ask you for her number, but I don't want her to feel like, well, who's this guy calling me? Because that's how you felt.
Well, of course, it was out of the blue, so I'm like, and this is, like I said, a few years ago, so I was kind of like, huh?
Yeah. But I mean, you can just, minimally share, and I just want to call her and, just chat with her for a few minutes, and if you can call me back or.
No, I have to tell her what it's regarding in a sense. I mean, she's just going to be like, what? I mean, you want me to talk to a private investigator about what? I mean, I'll have to. I mean, I have to tell her that
it's about the Odeon, and then afterwards at the Alof.
Sydney is,
No, I would ask that you not get into that because I don't know. So, I don't know exactly what she's saying, but there's an allegation or that there's an inquiry, because this is the truth. There's an inquiry that there may have been something inappropriate that took place at the Alof.
Okay.
That's it. And okay. Honest to God, I don't have all the details or anything else or how valid it is, but it's being looked into.
Yeah.
And I'm an investigator. I don't know what Sydney said or if Drake did this or if Drake did that. All I am aware of is that there's a suggestion of a possible inappropriate contact.
Okay.
That may have occurred at the Alof or the Odeon during that time when she was there.
All right.
And I've talked to you about it, and there's no criminal charges or anything else. It's a very sensitive issue, obviously.
Yeah, sure.
And nobody else really knows about it. And if I could talk to her about it. That's it.
Okay.
Really simple.
Yep.
All right.
No problem. But like I said, I wanted to tell you what I remember just because I didn't want, like if at some point Darlene and Shauna said, oh, she was already backstage, you'd think that I was not telling you the truth.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
I just, like I said, it's been a while ago, and I had to kind of really rack my brain, like, did I, what was I, because, like I said, I was busy doing other things, too. So
right, so would you be able to call me back in a couple of minutes, you think?
Yeah, well, hopefully. I mean,
okay.
Well, if I can get a hold of her that quickly, sometimes I reach out to her and it takes a little bit for her to get back to me, but as soon as she gets back to me.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Kathy.
No problem.
All right, bye-bye. Today is Sunday, July 26, 2020. It's 2:45 p.m. This is Keith King placing a call to Darlene Richards.
Hello.
Hi, Darlene.
It is.
Hi, this is Keith King from Cleveland.
Hi, Keith.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you? Thanks for taking a few minutes on this Sunday to speak with me.
Listen, I have no problems. Kathy just filled me in. She's an old friend of mine from the 90s, and she filled me in, and if I can be completely honest with you, my mind is completely blown, and it certainly takes a lot to do that for me.
Yeah, okay.
No, okay.
I appreciate that.
You just lead me in the direction, and I'll talk to you. No
well,
problem.
I'll just I don't know what you know about me. I'm a private investigator. I'm retired law enforcement, and I'll just share with you. This is a matter where there's been some type of implication or an allegation that's been made to local authorities up here in Cleveland, and obviously everything's extremely confidential.
When was this? Can you tell me when this was?
Yeah, I'll
when
share.
This came about?
Mm-hmm. To the best of my knowledge, I'll share everything with you.
Sure.
Because obviously it's a very sensitive matter.
It's very sensitive.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I was there, so I mean, like I said, I am completely blown by this.
Yeah, and it's not out in the open and things of that
nature. No, and it won't be.
Yeah, so apparently Sydney has made an allegation that there's been some inappropriate contact at a venue, and we believe
one in Cleveland.
So Cleveland, and there may be a couple others. We're not 100% sure because we don't have all the information. I can tell you that
Syracuse venue, and I was in Ohio, in Cleveland. So
which ones?
The two I was at. I was at Cleveland. That was my very first time ever meeting Drake and going down for a show. And I was in Syracuse, New York, a few months later.
Okay. So I'll share these dates with you, and we can just kind of talk through it. But we've been in communications with law enforcement, and we're just trying to get to the bottom of this. And of course,
but when did she do this? When did she allegedly come out with this stuff?
So I'll share that with you.
Is this recent?
No, I'll share this with you. I just want to make sure that nobody's told you that for I don't know what Kathy shared with you, and I just
she just told me what had happened or what allegedly had happened.
Okay, which is what?
That there was, as you say, some inappropriate behavior. Now, as to what kind of inappropriate behavior, Kathy did not say because she does not know either.
Correct.
And Kathy was there with us that night because she came in to do photos for Drake. She does, when Drake's in the area, she's his photographer. She was on stage. She was backstage. She's amazing at what she does.
Correct.
And we were all up in the VIP area. We were in the regular common area, but then fans kind of caught on we were with him. and they kept coming up to us saying, "Oh, are you his mother?" Asking me if I was his mother. Thank you.
Okay.
And finally, we said no, and some guy came over to us with the venue. It was just a dive. You have to know, this place is just disgusting.
Yeah.
Anyway, and he said, "Would you guys like to go upstairs into the VIP area?" And we said, "Do you mind?" And he said, "No, not at all." So Drake came up. When he came into the venue, he came up.
Okay, so let's talk about some dates. How about this? I'll ask you the question, and you can kind of share with me, and we'll do like a question answer, and that will help. So
you got it.
So you live in Canada, and you know.
I live in Toronto. Yep.
Okay, so you live in Toronto. You know Shauna and.
I've known Sydney since she was in her mommy's belly.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. So let's talk about Friday, December 1st at the Odeon concert in Cleveland, Ohio.
Yep.
That would have been 2017, and Sydney, to the best what I understand here, she was 15 years old.
Mhm.
All right. And
yep. But she doesn't look 15.
Okay. Talk to me about that.
She is, now I'm not generalizing here, but just because I've been around a lot of people, like she's a Jewish princess.
Okay.
She goes and has her makeup done, and she did have her makeup done for this show at Sephora, and false eyelashes, the whole bit. She has her nails done, and this is apparently the way Jewish moms treat their daughters. And I have no problem with that, but I'm sorry, when I was 15, I looked 15. And so, it's none of my business what people do, but in my opinion, don't rush it. Let grow up gradually. Grow up, appropriately.
Right.
And anyway, so that was, I kind of thought, okay, well, all right, whatever works for her. But yeah.
All right. So you come to Cleveland, Ohio on Friday, December 1st. Who'd you come to Cleveland with?
Yeah, I came with Shauna and Sydney.
All right.
Yeah.
Sydney
the three of us.
Okay, so you guys came, and she's dressed up, and she doesn't look 15. Does she look 17 or 18?
With the makeup and stuff.
16? I mean, you tell me.
Yeah, I definitely think she looked older. I would say 17. Give her a couple more years, yeah.
Okay.
But 17, because, the makeup was heavier. It looked great on her, I must say, but I'm just trying to think when we got to Cleveland, where did we go? We stayed overnight in a hotel, I believe. Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
Okay.
We got there. It's only a 5-hour drive from Toronto to Cleveland.
All right. So you guys come into Cleveland, you're down the flats, and you go to the concert, right? So who do you meet at the concert?
Yeah. Well, we get there, and Kathy knew I was going to be the Kathy Couch that you just spoke to. She knew I was coming, and I hadn't seen her in a long time, and it was great to see her. So her and another friend, Lori, came and met us upstairs in the VIP area. And then when Drake entered the venue, he came right upstairs, and he saw Kathy, and he hugged her, and he saw Shauna, and he hugged her because Shauna had taken Sydney to prior shows. And then somebody introduced me to him, and he hugged me and said, "Thank you for coming." And I said, "It's a pleasure to meet you." And, Sydney seemed to be feeling a little bit left out, and she was, sort of just standing there. And he went over to her, and from what I remember, I was busy talking to Kathy because I hadn't seen her. Mm-hmm. And I said, we were just kind of catching up a little bit. And I said, "This is awesome. I'm so glad we could do this." And she said, "Yeah, me too." And then at one point, Sydney was standing just by the railing. And there was a lot of really awful bands on before Drake came on.
Right.
And so we were all kind of joking about these really bad bands. And at one point, Drake said, "Well, I got to go downstairs and get ready and stuff." So he went downstairs, and she looked a little bit bummed because I don't think he gave her the attention that she thought he would. Mm-hmm. Now, with that being she's a fan. Bottom line is she's a fan. And I just, we just kind of noticed she was a little bit more quiet. So we thought, okay, well, this is obviously a problem. So not going to worry about it. So anyway, he did his gig, and we were planning on, because Shauna had a birthday card for Drake to sign for Sydney, because Sydney's birthday is at the end of January. So she had brought a birthday card, and our plan was to go back to his hotel, have him sign the card, and go back to our hotel and go to bed. And it was very late. Anyway, Drake said he was tired, which, travel day, show day, yeah, you're tired. So we went back to our hotel. Like, Kathy's car got towed that night. She parked on the street, and her car got towed. So we were on the phone trying to get somebody to help out, find out where this car was, and no problem, got it all sorted out. Drake had walked back to his hotel, and so I think Sydney texted him, and he said he was really tired, and he was going to sleep. He said, message me in the morning, and we can get together before you guys go back to Toronto.
All right, let's hit
all of us.
Let's hit the pause button right there. So,
yep.
All right. So, while at the concert, while at the venue, Sydney was backstage. You were backstage, I'm assuming, right?
Yep. We did go backstage after the show, all of us.
Okay, here's my
together.
question. Was Sydney ever alone with Drake at any time?
Yes.
Okay. When was that?
Well, and I noticed this right away because I remember asking Shauna, are you okay with this? Because Sydney's parents, part of this whole deal with Shauna taking Sydney over, because Shauna is Sydney's aunt.
Right.
You know that, right?
Yes.
Okay. And Dina is Sydney's mom, who is Shauna's sister. Okay? Just so that you're clear on that.
Yeah.
I remember her saying, and that Shauna saying we're not to leave her alone with him.
All right. Who told you this?
Shauna said that, and I said, oh, okay. I said, she's the one, but so she did mention that to me, and I didn't give it another thought because I'm not in charge of this young girl.
Right.
I'm on for the ride. I'm just here to have a little bit of fun.
All right.
And so she, so at one point, I remember Sydney going, I'm going downstairs to Drake's dressing room, and that's when I said to Shauna, I said, are you, and she just went. And Shauna said, yeah, okay. And I said, are you okay with that? She said, yeah, she'll be fine. I said, okay. And I never said another, it's not my place to say anything.
Yeah.
I'm not the one, I'm not the caregiver here. So show starts, and I know that she did come up, and she seemed absolutely fine. And she said he was strumming his guitar, his acoustic guitar, and that was that. But when we all went backstage after the show, we all went down together. Kathy met us back there because she was taking photographs. And so we all went downstairs, and we all sat in this really grungy little room. Sydney was on the couch. Drake was in a single chair. And I sat on one side on like a two-seater couch, but three of us sat on it. And we just talked, and I remember saying to him that I thought this. I said I'm really impressed with you. I said I'd never seen you live, and I said I love the show. And I said so thank you, and he said no problem. Thank you for coming again. And he was just very kind, and I got a really good vibe from him. Like I didn't notice anything
right
out of the ordinary. And I used to work in the business for a long time.
What business?
And show business.
Oh, okay.
And music.
Okay.
And believe me, I saw a lot of stuff.
Sure.
So nothing phases me anymore.
Okay.
I'm 62, and, so we ended up leaving and left Drake, and there was, I think, another person that came into the room, maybe a couple of bandmates, and I believe Drake went out afterwards, and he did some autographing for fans. So some merch, they were selling merchandise, and he went out, and I remember saying, I don't want to be here for this, let's get out of here. And then we found out about Kathy's car.
All right. So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
How long was Sydney in the dressing room with Drake prior to the show?
You know what? I honestly can't say. I'm going to say no more than 15 minutes, but I know what and I know what you mean.
Mm-hmm.
I'm anything can happen in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
But like I said, she did not appear to be upset in any way, or distraught.
Okay.
The only thing I did notice earlier was that I got the feeling she was a little upset because he wasn't paying enough attention to her.
Okay.
That's all I noticed. But like I said, I'm completely blown away by this.
Okay.
So ask away. Go
all
ask
right.
more questions.
Okay.
About the next day?
Yeah. So I just want to go in order here. So.
Yep.
So the car unfortunately gets impounded, and Sydney communicates with Drake. Everybody goes to bed, and you guys go to bed that night. You wake up the next morning, right?
Yes, we did.
All right, December 2nd. So tell me what happens.
Yep. So I had told Kathy the night before, I said, well, why don't we meet for breakfast? Come to the hotel. I'm sorry, I don't remember the name of our hotel. But anyway, so we had breakfast together, Lori, Kathy, Shauna, Sydney, and myself. And Sydney had texted him to say, she was really eager to see him. So she did text him, and he said, come on over to the hotel, which we did after breakfast. Kathy was going to pick up her car, and so we all sort of said goodbye, and we got in our car, Shauna's car, and drove over to the hotel, which was it a loft?
A loft?
A loft or something?
Yep, A loft hotel.
We have one here. Yeah, we have one here in Toronto too.
Mm-hmm.
And so we went there and we sat in the lobby for a very, very long time. He's a rock star or a rock singer or a pop singer or whatever. These guys don't get up at the crack of stupid, right? They don't get up at
right.
early hours. And so anyway, he finally texted her. I guess we'd been sitting down there for pretty close to an hour, I'm going to say. And so he said, come on up. And when we got there, we knocked on the door. And he said, come on in. He was blow-drying his hair. That I remember because I thought, God, this guy has great hair. And he said hi and everything. And he said, you want to see the room? And it was really a small room, but it was very cool. And so we looked at the room. I thought it was really nice. And we ended up we didn't spend hardly any time in the room. All three of us left the room at the same time with Drake. He stood outside his room and talked to us for about an hour.
Okay.
And the only time he went back into his room was with Shauna to have her sign the card, and Sydney and I stayed outside on the in the hallway and waited for her to come back out, and she was back out within a few minutes. And then Drake, Shauna, and I took a picture together, and I can't remember if Sydney had one taken with her that day or not. I don't remember. I'm sorry.
Okay.
But he took a picture with us. He was really great, and we said thank you for your time and safe flight home, and thank you again. And that was it. We left the hotel, and that was it.
All right. So
all I have.
So when you guys went into his room, the three of you, you were all together, right?
All together.
And at no time did Sydney go into a different room with Drake?
Nope.
All right. And
that room was so small.
Okay.
we would have known.
All right.
No.
So
No.
you knew that Shauna had a birthday card for Drake.
I did.
It was a secret, right?
Yes. And because Sydney asked me, she said, "Do you know what this is about?" I said, "Yep." And she said, "What's it about?" And I said to her, "I'm not telling you. I'm going to ruin a surprise."
All right. So
yeah,
you're in the room. How long are you, the three of you, in the room with Drake?
Oh my gosh, I'm going to say maybe 5 minutes.
Okay.
If that.
And then everybody comes out into the hallway where you speak for an hour.
In the hallway.
All right.
Yeah, at least. And we just talked about a whole lot of things. I asked him a few questions about stuff, and you know, it was great. It was great.
All right. And at no time did Sydney go back into the room by herself?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
All right. Shauna did, and that's where the card was signed.
That's where the card was signed, and I can't remember what was put in the card. There was nothing inappropriate. It was for her birthday. Now, they all get together, their family, and celebrate, you know, because Sydney's Shauna's niece. So they usually go up to Shauna's sister, Dina. And now Dina's sister, Joey, is a lawyer. And you know, so they have a very nice home and live a very nice lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, Sydney is the youngest of two. She has an older brother, Noah. And no, there was absolutely nothing. And I remember when we drove home, she seemed quite upset. Sydney did. We were driving home, and because we went into Shauna's sister on the way home, like to drop Sydney off, and it's odd because Joey asked me. He said she was never alone with him, was she? And I said at the time, I said no, because I had blocked that thing out of my mind that she had gone. I just said no, it was a great time. I really wasn't paying too much attention to what he said, to be honest with you. And I said, no. I said, no, everything was fine. I said, we all went into his hotel room for a few minutes, and I said, we all went backstage together. I didn't even think to say, oh, Joey, she went into his, I didn't even think.
Okay.
You know, I was tired, so, but, yeah, but she seemed very upset, and when I asked her, I turned around and I said, what's the matter? And she said, I miss Drake. And I'm thinking, okay, this is very 15-year-old behavior.
All right, I gotcha.
After you see your favorite person.
Gotcha. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So the only thing that, now that you and we talk about this and reflect, was Sydney saying, I'm going down to see Drake before the show, and you looking at
asking Shauna, are you okay with that?
Yeah, and she was okay with it.
She said, yeah, fine.
Okay.
And the thing is I have asked Shauna, I don't see her that much. With this pandemic, nobody's seeing anybody right now. But I have seen her on occasion, and I say, so does Sydney still like Drake or what? And she'd say, I don't know. She'd say, she never says anything to me. So this is why I'm totally and completely blown away by this allegation.
Okay. Well, we don't know.
And I would be happy to write something out for Drake's lawyer and sign it and send it off, because listen, I can't see this happening at all.
All right. So you're confident that Drake was not involved in, you know, based on what you saw and what you heard and the behavior.
And observation, you know, and just observation, because I'll tell you, I mean, yes, 15-year-olds are different than when I was 15 and when you were 15.
Right.
But I think if something inappropriate would have happened, I really think that she would have been distracted. I think it would have distracted her.
Mm-hmm.
And to the point where I would have noticed a difference in behavior. Okay. I watch people.
All right.
That's just my opinion. And that's how I feel about stuff like this. Like, I cannot see him doing anything inappropriate. And the second time that I met him in Syracuse, wow.
So talk to me about that. When was that?
Oh, my gosh. I wish I remembered the date.
New York?
It was a few months, Syracuse, New York, yeah, because we drove down and we drove back the same day, Anna, because I remember laughing, thinking, going into Walmart at 3:30 in the morning in Buffalo. Anyway, on the way home. Okay. And the same thing. We it was a better venue, and I don't have as clear memories on this one as I do the other one. I remember seeing the show, and it was crowded, and we always put Sydney fairly close to the front. It was general admission. So I said, well, I'm not going in that area. There's just too many people. I will stand off to the side. So we stood off to the side, Shauna and I, and we could see Sydney perfectly, but I don't believe we went backstage or anything. Mm-hmm. No, I don't remember doing that, but what we did do was at the end of the show, we saw him, and he had said to us, wait, and we'll catch up. So we waited for him, and we were allowed into a certain spot. He was doing a fan meet and greet. So we were sitting there and talking to a lot of his people, and there's one guy said to us, he said, and who are you guys? You guys shouldn't be sitting here. And Drake just looked, he heard it, and he looked and he said, they're with me. And stuff. And he really didn't pay a lot of attention to her. You know, yes, we were invited guests of his in this meet and greet, and he came over and talked to us afterwards. He hugged us all, including Sydney, and she hugged him back. And it was not a very long meeting because we wanted to get on the road. And it was really, it was a great show. We ran into him at the plaza, like we went to the mall, and he was having dinner at the mall. And he said to Shauna and I, because Sydney was getting her makeup done at Sephora, and so we just left her getting her makeup done, and he said, well, come on down and say hi. So we went down to the restaurant, spoke with him for a few minutes, and had a couple of his bandmates, and he said, well, we'll see you tonight. He said, make sure you wait for us after the show, because he said, we'll catch up then. And we did. Okay. That was it. Yeah, nothing. Absolutely nothing inappropriate.
Not left alone or anything? Hello? Hello? Seems that somehow we got disconnected. I'm going to call Darlene Richards back. It's 3:13 p.m., Sunday, July 26, 2020.
Oh.
Hi, sorry about that. Somehow I got cut off.
Yeah, well, it said it was still connected, and I could hear you, but I couldn't see anything.
Oh, okay.
So, anyway, I'm here.
All right. So, you were saying you were at, like, a mall, and she was getting her makeup done. She wasn't there, right?
No, she was not. When Shauna and I went and spoke with Drake ourselves, like, Shauna said, you remember my friend Darlene, and he looked at me and he said, hi, nice to see you, and he stood up and he gave me a hug. Apparently he's a very huggy guy.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And, you know, and I said, it's nice to see you. I said, so sorry to bother you while you're having your dinner. We're not going to keep you long. He said, no, it's fine.
Yeah, he's real approachable, right?
Real approachable guy. Really nice. And Kathy has known him for years. Mm-hmm. So she told me, she said, you'll really, really like him. And I did, right off the bat. Very approachable, very non-Hollywood.
So was this sometime in like February of 2018 when you guys were down in Syracuse, New York?
It might have been February or March.
All right. So let me ask you a little bit about March 8th. Did you ever go to Toledo to see Kathy when he performed?
No, I couldn't go to that show.
All right.
I wanted to, but I couldn't.
Any other venues in Cleveland, the Grog Shop or anything?
No, I only have ever done the 2 shows. I went to the Odeon in Cleveland, and I also went to Syracuse. So the only 2 shows I've ever been to of Drake's.
All right. And after that show...
in Syracuse?
Correct.
Or Cleveland?
Syracuse.
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking about early 2018, right? She's now 16 years old. In your relationship with Shauna, her aunt.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Did you ever, and as we speak now, has she ever conveyed or spoke to you, or have you guys had any additional communications at all about Sydney and or Drake?
Well, like I said, earlier in the conversation here, I asked her. I ask her every now and then. So does Sydney still like Drake? And the only answer I get back from Shauna is, I don't know. She never says anything. So
there's.
And I just find that weird. And I just said, oh, well, and then she said, teenagers, and I said, well, I said, actually, no. I said, I guess I don't get it because I'm still a big fan of my teen idols, huge fan.
Right.
And but I guess. Things change and stuff, and I don't know. In fact, in all honesty, I have not seen Sydney since Syracuse.
Gotcha.
I don't see the family very often at all.
All right. And have you spoken at all recently with Shauna?
Have I spoken to?
Shauna?
We were supposed to get together on Friday, to go to the Dairy Queen, but I ended up being out longer than I expected to be on a work thing. And so I'm supposed to see her maybe tomorrow night. Okay.
Have you seen her prior to the pandemic at all in 2019? Yeah.
Yeah, I have. We saw each other. She dropped something over to me, and we've FaceTimed a few times. She just lives on the other side. I live on one side of the mall, and she lives on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
So we're like a 5-minute walk away from each other.
Gotcha.
And, so her and I met at a Rick Springfield concert, Shauna and I, in 2000. That's how we became friends.
Okay.
But, I haven't really said anything. And have you spoken to Shauna about this yet?
No, I reached out. The only number that I have is her at her law firm, and I've tried to. I haven't left.
And she doesn't work for a law firm.
Oh, she don't.
Oh, she does. No, sorry, she does. She's working at home.
Okay.
I could give you the number if you want.
Could you please?
Yeah, and just don't tell her I gave it to you.
No, I won't. I promise.
Thank you. Hang on. Let me just, if I cut you off, please forgive me. Hang on one sec. I'll put you on speakerphone.
Okay.
All right. My contacts are where? Contacts, Shauna. Okay, I can give you her cell number and her home number. Which one would you like? Maybe the home number?
I'll take them both if you don't mind.
Okay. No problem. 416-499-0688. That's the home number.
Okay.
Okay, and the cell is 416-587-4829.
Okay, and I'll keep that between us. I promise.
Thank you.
And I'm not going to share with her, any of the details or any of our conversations. I'm not even going to tell her that I spoke with you.
Okay.
All right.
Yep.
At least for right now, and I won't do anything unless you know about it, because that's just how I am.
Please, yeah, thank you.
And I'm going to keep it that way. I'll speak with defense counsel. I'm taking some notes here. Appreciate.
Please do.
I will.
You know, and like I said, I'd be happy on Drake's behalf to sign any kind of note, anything, like if they want just a brief description of what happened on my own words, I'd be happy to do it. It's not a problem.
Okay. And I'll create a little summary or put something together here based on our conversations, and you'd have no issue with that. So.
No, I don't. No, I'm here to help. I was there, and I'm here to help because, like I said, Kathy's known him a long time, and I was at that show and saw nothing inappropriate, and I don't believe anything appropriate happened. None whatsoever.
Okay. I'm
just completely blown away by this.
All right, let's keep that between us. You have my number. It came up, right?
I do.
All right.
Yes, I do.
It's my home office number. And Darlene, is it Darlene?
That is correct.
All right. Richards, correct?
That's correct.
All right, Darlene.
You can reach me if you need to. I'm working from home every day until this thing decides to go away. And if you need to reach me for anything else, please feel free to reach out.
Okay. Thank you so much, and please enjoy the rest of your day.
I will, and thank you for calling.
All right. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Bye-bye.
Disturbing allegations here today, but I can't lose focus on the fact as to what he pled to. He did not plead to sexual misconduct or engaging in sexual relations. He pled to attempted endangering children and disseminating matter harmful to juveniles. These are serious allegations, but they do not involve sexual relations. However, a grown man does not engage in inappropriate text messages to a teenager. There's a reason why a 14 or 15-year-old does not have the right to drive, does not have the right to vote, does not have the right to serve in the armed forces. They don't have the emotional or mental maturity to properly gauge their conduct. So you did take advantage in that regard to somebody who could not appreciate the consequences of the relationship or lack of relationship or inappropriate relationship. Now, I respect your attorney. He talks about that your position has exacerbated the harm that befallen you because of all this publicity. But the fact of the matter is, your position and celebrity status enabled you to nurture this relationship. You were able to gain access to this child, and you were able to gain the trust of this child. So it's a two-edged sword, your position. I hope you truly are remorseful. I don't know. You are going to get 1 year on the felony 4, 6 months on the misdemeanor, the one concurrent by operation of law. I will suspend the imposition of the sentence. You will be subject to 2 years community control sanctions. You'll have to register with Cuyahoga County. They will facilitate the transfer of probation to California. They will evaluate your sexual offender report that was submitted under seal. They will determine whether you have to undergo additional counseling. You will also perform 200 hours of community work service, and you're to have no contact with the victim, court costs imposed. Anything further, counsel?
No, Your Honor. All right.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, give this video a thumbs up, and press the notification bell. Additionally, you can view our playlists and most recent videos. Thank you for watching.